Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN AM for Friday, September 4th, 2020. And here are our top stories. Bracing for the real recession and COVID is remaking many corporate cultures. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Devin Banerjee. He's Senior Financial Services Editor for LinkedIn. He's also the editor of the This Week in Finance newsletter, which of course you can find on the LinkedIn platform. Just look for Devin's name. Devin, thanks so much for staying with us, or joining us this morning, I should say.
Absolutely, Jeff. Always good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you. So, look, this has been a pretty good week for the stock market. I saw some good job numbers yesterday, Wednesday. We're recording this on a Thursday, so everyone knows. But signs now, there are some economists who are saying that this could be a double dip or the real recessions to come. So help me understand.
Absolutely, Jeff. Yeah, kind of a high level topic, but I'll try to drill down into some of the details. You're right that economists are, really beginning to warn that the economic downturn caused by the pandemic that we've seen over the past 5-6 months is now creating another recession, a recession within a recession, or what some people are saying is really the real recession. If we were to take away the pandemic, what are the real effects that are starting to spread beyond industries directly affected by the virus? So some of the signs we're seeing of this are, job losses, business failures, and declines in spending in those industries that, as I said, are not directly impacted by the virus. That is really the root of the concern for these economists. Now, this recession within a recession, if we can call it that, it's less severe than that we've seen driven, directly by the virus. But what economists are saying is it's more likely to have permanent effects. These are kind of underlying more permanent trends, and it has the potential to more permanently push workers out of the labor force going forward, to lower wages going forward, and to leave these long-lasting scars on the economy. So I mentioned some of those warning signs. But just to go a bit deeper into the warning signs, and you and I have talked about some of these, but it's the increasing number of layoffs, for example, that have gone from classified as temporary to being classified as permanent. That's really top of mind for labor market watchers and economists right now. It's also the increasing numbers of men losing jobs in recent months. That's actually a traditional hallmark of a recession and a more traditional recession. And so that's that point I'm making about we're seeing a more traditional recession now emerge after that pandemic-induced recession. And then a third, big point that people are watching, and you and I have talked about this as well, is the rising rate of long-term unemployment. That was a hallmark of the last Great Recession, which, as we all know, took a long recovery to get out of and really was difficult for lower income Americans to recover from. So, one analyst told Axios, which did a great summary, I should mention, of all these things I'm talking about. One analyst said, our view is that the economy is transitioning from almost depression-like dynamics to now a recession, not to a recovery. As people have been talking about, we have a downturn and then a recovery. It's not that simple. Looking at all these signals, it looks like now we're entering a more traditional recession, or, as I said, this recession within a recession.
Well, obviously not great news. I think everyone thought, in fact, when you look at the stock market at all-time highs, although I think it was, we're recording this on a Thursday, it was down this morning early in the session trading. But you look at that and it's just, you cannot just use that as the only barometer of economic health. You mentioned the large number of unemployed, that, and some of the layoffs. I've seen airlines lay people off. I've seen, I think, Ford and car companies. Yeah. I've seen banks lay people off recently in the news as I do my newsletter every morning. So obviously disconcerting. And this has an impact for people, trying to find new work. If you have all these unemployed people, how do you put them back to work? I think that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge loss in productivity and output. And really this next recession or this new recession, however you want to term it, is exactly what policymakers, in a way, were trying to either avert or soften the blow of with that $2 trillion package, the CARES Act that we saw in March. And since then, much of that aid has lapsed, as you and I have talked about. Most importantly, those enhanced benefits for the now 27 million Americans receiving unemployment has lapsed. And so, to your point, it's even more difficult now for those out of work to keep up and to be confident and in a position where they can go look for new work. We've seen the Fed very vocal about this, as you and I have discussed at length, and economists of all stripes, really, across the board. The National Association for Business Economics, which has sometimes been a bit right-leaning. I mean, even their members in a recent poll, 2/3 believe we're still in a recession. Many of them believe, more fiscal support is needed. About 37% of them are seeing a chance of a double-dip recession, and those types of recessions, those W recoveries and double-dip recessions, are actually quite rare. I mean, that's where a recovery begins and then stalls out because of many of these more persistent, permanent underlying factors that I mentioned at the beginning.
Well, this was clearly a sharp hit to the economy, and we still need to see what, we had that huge loss, I think, in Q2, right? I mean, from a gross domestic product point of view. And now we still don't know what the Q3 is going to look like. Hopefully it's better. But, I go back to, and I don't know what happened with the stimulus. I mean, it just kind of fell off. I mean, Congress went on a break, didn't do anything. They're going to come back after the Labor Day holiday. I'm glad that they took some time off, but there are people really challenged now. They could have used that stimulus. And I just go back to, look, this is the road we chose to go down, or I should say, you chose to go down as our great leaders in Congress and the executive branch, et cetera, as elected by people. Don't leave us hanging. Because there are people who really need help, and they're among the unemployed, and they're the lower waged, lower income people.
Absolutely. You make a great point, which you and I have talked about. This at its root is a public health emergency, and governments, both federal and local, put in place these business closures. A lot of the layoffs have stemmed from that, and the lapses in aid have really been worrisome and of top concern. You mentioned Congress on vacation. I saw a piece by Janet Yellen, the former chair of the Fed, titled something along the lines of, Americans are hurting while the Senate is on vacation. And so I think that is really what's top of mind for people right now, is when are we going to see fiscal aid replenished?
Yeah, I mean, I think Senate Majority Leader, Speaker of the House, President, what are you guys doing? Come on. I know you get a lot on your plate. You can do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Devin, let's go to a quick commercial break. That's my soapbox. I'm going to get off it now. We go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Devin about the change in corporate culture as a result of working from home. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
If you were like 58% of Americans, you didn't go to college. Or you did, but never finished. Maybe it's the thought of a big, intimidating campus. At Independence University, all classes are held online. Maybe it's the thought of being alone in a sea of students. At Independence U, you'll get a personal support team to help you every step of the way. Maybe it's the cost of all those books and supplies. Online means no books to buy. We even give you a new laptop and tablet to keep when you graduate. Maybe your life doesn't fit typical college classes. At Independence U, our online college fits your schedule. Let's meet a few students.
Independence University held my hand through the process.
Don't be afraid to take the leap because it has changed my life drastically.
Just take the first step and you can do it. If I did it, you can do it too.
At IU, there's no barriers to your degree.
800-535-9916.
Welcome back. We're talking to Devin Banerjee of LinkedIn. Devin, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Absolutely, Jeff. Happy to.
Great. So let's kind of shift gears here. Part of the pandemic, the result of the pandemic was a lot of working from home. And as we would expect, or maybe not expect, this has resulted in a shift in corporate culture. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, I mean, that's right, Jeff. If you think about it, the big question for management experts and for those who study and think about the future of work is what about this new normal that we all find ourselves in will become permanent, and what is just going to be temporary. I mean, if you think about it, many companies have accelerated, of course, their ideas or their plans for a remote workforce, and that is really unlikely to reverse, or a lot of that is unlikely to reverse, management experts are saying. This story, by the way, that we feature is based on a great, thorough story by the Financial Times that I really encourage everyone to read in full if this topic is of interest. And so, one, management experts think a lot of these remote capabilities are unlikely to reverse. Number two, others have found that this period has revealed and unearthed hidden skills of employees, hidden skills of managers as well. That's allowing companies to deploy staff more flexibly, to be more agile, and to just deploy resources in new and innovative ways. I'll get into some examples of that shortly. And then, number three, internal hierarchies and bureaucracies. Many companies have scrapped or subverted or even inverted many of their traditional hierarchies as they find the most effective and efficient ways to work right now. And that's challenging, these long-standing bureaucracies and pain points in organizations. So really, overall, this period has just been the mother of invention, if you think about it. By necessity, as I said, companies have had to figure out these new ways of working. So, so what management experts are saying is, why not let some of those new ways that we've now spent 6 months figuring out, why not let some of those new ways of working stick? So some examples, as I said, I'll get into, Danone, the big French-based food company. This crisis, for example, interrupted a really complex project of theirs to retool and introduce a new water bottle shape that's more environmentally friendly. This was a really expensive, complex project, as I mentioned. And without travel, technicians from a technician team in Italy couldn't get to the big Danone factory in Mexico City, where they were meant to kick off this project. And what they had to do, like you and I are doing, is by Zoom, they had to interact between the technicians in Italy, the shop floor in Mexico City, to reprogram those machines, which they did successfully. And really the takeaway from that is that that whole process cost less than it traditionally would have. And now that plant in Mexico City with thousands of workers is set up for future remote training and future remote projects. And Danone CEO was saying to the Financial Times, this started a company-wide shift in culture and in attitude and in thinking. Workers are able now, if not eager, to acquire new skills with, remote training, to expand their roles, to expand their skill sets, to move around within the organization, and as I said, be more agile. So it's introduced this flexibility and this optionality now, if you think about this period of work, where we can do many different things, experiment with many different ways of working. And as I said, management experts are saying if we've spent 6 months figuring all of this out and our organizations are, still functioning efficiently or successfully, why not let some of these new ways of working stick going into the future?
Well, I got to say, it cuts down, anything that cuts down the commute time, and as you know, in New York, people, that is just a drain on productivity. It's a drain on just time. If you commute an hour each way to a big city, that's a big drain. Devin, I'm not amazed because, as I think you said, it's the mother of invention, right? And necessity is the mother of invention. And so we had to go through very difficult, challenging times. I don't see us moving back. I think one potential area of challenge though could be for newer workers moving into the system, gaining that experience, because, it always helped me when I was working with somebody, working with a mentor on my team to learn from him or her and to get experience. And it's a little bit more challenging with doing that virtually.
You're absolutely right. I'm so glad you mentioned that. There are some real downsides and challenges here that both management experts are raising, and that, I and my team and just anecdotally and qualitatively I'm seeing in the workforce. Number one is culture, as you said. Building a unique, robust culture for an organization is much more difficult right now, both for new employees, as you mentioned, onboarding new employees, but also for existing employees, just to maintain that culture. Related to that, number two is mentorship, which is so important for specific industries. Especially actually in financial services, which I cover most closely. It's really an apprentice business. You're not learning to build a car with your hands or to perform surgery with your hands. It's all about knowledge and relationships, and those things are passed on in kind of an apprentice model. And a third one I'll mention is that a lot of people are talking about is the risk of overwork and the threat to mental health. You and I have addressed this in the past as well, particularly in kind of non-shift types of work or more white-collar professions, where the boundaries between work and home are entirely breaking down. So a lot of management experts are pointing to the need for training for HR departments, training for managers within companies to be able to detect overwork, burnout, and a slide in mental health. So it's not all roses. As you said, there are some real challenges, and those things will certainly have to find a way to return in some way.
Yeah, I think we learned to adapt at the beginning of the pandemic. We'll continue to learn to adapt. And I think, you often talk about reskilling, retooling, learning new things. I think organizations will continue to do that as well. Devin, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for appearing on the program this morning, and you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. And I just want to take a quick second to congratulate you. I know it's the 1-year anniversary of BRN, and so I've been really, thrilled and fortunate to have watched all the success that you've had over the past year. Well,
thank you, Devin. I know we're very pleased and really thankful that we have great individuals like yourself who come on and share really important topical information for people to, think about and think about how they want to handle. Appreciate that. And again, always look forward to chatting with you both here and on the podcast. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Sounds good, Jeff. Take care.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out our newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Don't forget, we're back again tomorrow for our weekly retrospective show, BRN Weekly. We'll be looking at some of our best segments for the week and also have a very special interview. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited, and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.